Today I'm joined by Dan Big D Sachkowsky, entrepreneur, business coach, speaker, podcast host, and someone who has built a reputation on resilience, leadership, and helping people break through the limitations holding them back. Dan has built and scaled multiple businesses, spoken on stages across the country, and now works with entrepreneurs and business owners who want to stop being the bottleneck in their business and start building companies that create real freedom. Through his coaching, speaking, and podcasting, he's known for delivering honest, direct conversations that challenge people to take ownership of their lives, their leadership, and their results. What makes Dan different is that he doesn't just teach business, he teaches mindset, personal growth, accountability, and how to navigate adversity when life doesn't go according to plan. His message is simple: nothing changes until you change. I'm excited to have him here today to share his story, his lessons, and his perspective. Dan, welcome to the show. Okay, so Dan, tell me a little bit about what you do to keep your life balanced and keep your home life, work life system. You have kids, right?
Yeah.
How old are your kids?
21, 20, and 16.
Boys or girls?
2 boys, older, a girl younger.
Okay. How has it been fathering them through your journey of being this entrepreneur, and you travel a lot?
So I had to learn along the way. I think early on in life, I was just really working a lot, missing a lot of things. And I think a lot of times in business and entrepreneurship and, where people stand is most men, if you ask them, they would say they put their family first. But the truth is they don't. And they say they do it for their family, but the truth is they don't. Because if your family's getting what's left of you, if your family's getting you when you're angry and tired and frustrated, and you're on your phone constantly when you're with your family's not getting anything from you. So over the years, I realized how important it was to block out time for the people and things that you cared about in your life and the things that were important, whether it was your family, whether it was the gym, whether it was reading, whatever it is. I think so many people, especially in this hustle culture, want to get up out of bed and look at their phone. I don't look at my phone for almost 3.5 hours after I get out of bed. And people go, how do you do it? I said, well, I don't feel it's appropriate for me to step into the world until I'm ready. But if you grab your phone first thing in the morning, you're looking at your phone and you're checking social media, how many likes did you get? You're seeing an email, something's not going right at the office, or you get bad news. You've just allowed the world to dictate your day. And over the years, I've realized, and I keep fine-tuning it more and more, is that we can never be at our best unless we're at our best. Mm-hmm. So being able to do everything and balance everything, which is like a word that doesn't really exist in entrepreneurship, but I think blocking time out for the important things in your life is more realistic.
Would you have done anything different while your kids were younger, now that you know what it's like to get to where you are?
I probably would have been around more.
Mm-hmm. But do you think you could have gotten to where you are if you were around more for your family and your kids?
I actually feel like I'm a lot more successful now because I'm not running my life on chaos. And my blitz time is my blitz time, my kids' time is my kids' time, my personal time and my relationship time is my relationship time. And everything I do is, gets its own time clock. And I think before you're just kind of, I don't want to miss a call. I don't want to miss an appointment. I don't want to miss $1. But you miss all the important things. So I think a lot of it taught me something. I think a lot of times in life we have to go through these situations to grow through them and become better, do better, be better. Because if you don't experience things and you don't realize the damage they do, mm-hmm. you really have nothing to correct.
Mm-hmm. Are you proud of your kids?
Absolutely. I think my kids are proud of me too.
I bet.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, a lot of guys are very curious about this, as you are on your way to success, being an entrepreneur, being, in the corporate world, whatever people are doing, as you're on your way to do that and guys are looking for the right woman to support them in their journey, what do you think are qualities that a woman should have that she can be by your side through the thick, the thin, be there when you're successful, not lose herself? What should they be looking for?
Well, I think we attract who we are. And I've been through some women throughout my life, and when things don't work out and things don't go in a direction you want them to go, you blame the woman, you don't blame yourself. And I think you really have to go through a lot of situations in life to figure out who you are, because if you don't really know who you are, you don't know what you want. And I think very importantly, I think we should look at success outside of money. Like, money shouldn't be success for us. Mm-hmm. Success should be a life that's like fulfilling, purpose-driven, and gives you the opportunity to wake up every day and like stand for something versus just making something. So I've had my share of relationships, that I've damaged myself, probably because I wasn't self-aware of the things I wanted, and when things weren't going right, it wasn't my problem, it wasn't my fault. How could I be doing anything wrong? And I just think now, at a place that I am in life and the peace I am and the relationship I have now, is just someone who supports you and understands you and, is willing to go on a journey with you, no matter how dark it is, how bright it is, how high it is, how low it is. And I think oftentimes why relationships in entrepreneurship don't work is because most men want to go out there, most women want to go out there, and they want to fly through their journey alone. And then your partner just kind of feels like, hey, what about me? You're out there building this life, you're out there doing this stuff, and I have no idea what's going on in your life, and I just see you when I see you. And that's why, when you look at super, super wealthy people, a good majority of them were divorced because they went on to build this big thing and they left the important person behind. But then you look at super, super like broke people and they're super happy. Why? Because they're both sitting on the same couch, doing the same thing, living the same life. So if your partner's on your journey with you and you're not taking your partner on your journey with you, don't expect them to be there when you hit the next mile marker. It's kind of the way I look at it.
How can guys know that from the start, if the woman's going to be there with them on that journey?
You got to set the expectation for what it is that you're trying to do and where you're trying to go. Mm-hmm. And you've got to see if that person's, willing to be there and take the ride with you. I think the worst thing you could do is, especially like starting up in the world of business, have kids, leave your wife home, stay-at-home mom. You're out there traveling the world doing everything. She's dealing with all the problems at home, you're dealing with all the problems in the world, and your two worlds don't ever collide, like they never come together. So I think ultimately you have to figure out what you want in life, but the problem is that most people who have a relationship, whether it's their first relationship, second relationship, whatever it is, they mimic their relationship from what they learned from their parents. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the way you're supposed to love. That's the person you're supposed to be with. So most girls end up with their dad, and most men end up with their mom. And they don't know any different. And not to say it's right or wrong, but the older generations just stuck together to stick together. They didn't get divorced like the newer generation does. So people back then were more screwed up than people now. People now just quit early. People back then didn't quit. But most people never experienced what true love was because our parents just stayed together to stay together. So unfortunately, this gets passed down and passed down and passed down. Like, my parents had a shitty relationship. Me and my dad didn't get along. My dad was an addict. I didn't know what love was. I searched for validation, to be good for people, be good for someone. And, I didn't know how to treat a woman. I was never taught how to treat a woman. So my marriage went to shit because you don't know what you don't know. And there's no great recipe on trying to figure out how to be the best person, because most of us just go through life with what we learn. So I think it's super important. Like, if you're going to get married, you're going to be in a relationship, and you're going to be a high-performing entrepreneur, you should probably find a high-performing counselor that can help you and work with you through all this stuff so that you guys can really understand each other. One thing I just learned recently was, like, my therapist asked me, he's like, with your girl, like, how does she want to be loved? I said, I have no idea. You know, as men, we don't know what the other person really wants unless we really ask. We often give people what we want and need, not what they want and need, because that's what we feel is right. So that's why so many relationships are empty, is because we never truly know what that person really desires. So I think it's a hard question to answer, because we're really not taught. We're taught everything from first grade to 12th grade, 12,000 hours, a whole bunch of bullshit that we never apply to life, but we're never really taught how to live it.
Yeah, and it's so important to condense the amount of time it takes to figure all of this stuff out. And that's why people seek out coaching for various things, but it's because somebody in your position or my position, we're experts at what we do, whether it's life or business, so that we can take people leaps and bounds to where they want to go, as opposed to trying to navigate through the maze and just blindly figure it out and make all the mistakes. Life is way too short to make all the mistakes yourself, right? So it's super important to figure that out and to talk to your partner, you know, whether it's a business partner or a romantic relationship, and figure out what it is they want. How do you evolve with them? How do you adapt with them? In this amount of time that you've figured things out, what do you think are some of the things that you've done right that have benefited your life overall, your relationship, your parenting style? What's the pro tips you have?
I can think the only thing I've ever done right was show up as a father. So what I did know at a young age was that I didn't like the way I was raised. I didn't like the way my dad was. I disagreed with my dad. I disconnected from my dad. And, you know, his way of fatherhood didn't teach me anything. And I did promise myself that when I did have kids, I wouldn't do that. So I did always make sure I showed up for my kids every way I can. I did things with my kids. I was present with my kids. And I think now we face another problem in this world where parents just exist, and they give their kids iPads and electronics and video games so they can stay busy, because parents don't want a parent. You know, they didn't sign up for that. You want to watch your TV show, you want to be on your phone, you want to do this because that's what the world's doing. You know, one thing I could say I did right is my kids never owned video games ever. 21 years old, 20 years old, 16 years old, my kids never had it. And, we want it. We want it. It's good to want. Go to your friend's house and play. But what was interesting is all their friends wanted to be at our house, because we had the dirt bikes, we had the quads, we had the jet skis, we had all that stuff, you know, that their parents weren't willing to buy. A 50cc dirt bike costs as much as an Xbox. Your kid's going to learn more about being a man falling on a dirt bike than he is playing a fucking game. You know? And now these parents their entire kids' bedrooms are gaming rooms, and these kids are eating dinner in their bedroom while they're playing their games. Like, what is going on? You know, my kids know, like, hey, we eat dinner together, your phones are down, and I still do that. Like, if you don't have any grounding things in your life, like, what are those kids' futures going to look like when those kids have women in their life, even if they ever do have women? You know what I mean? Like, how are they going to learn how to operate? How are they going to learn how to talk, do things, connect? They're not. This world is so lost in the whole digital world that people don't know how to connect. And it's unfortunate because, you know, it's people that are our age that are destroying their kids. You know, our parents didn't have that. You know, we had Atari, but most of us, like, Atari was so bad you had to blow it out all the time because it was so dusty it didn't even work. So you didn't want to play it, you know. But, you know, people just don't want a parent anymore. People don't want to be in relationships anymore. People just want to take the easy road out, and they want to look at their phone and just be distracted because they don't want to pay attention or partake in what actually takes work to grow something in their life. It's terrible.
What do they have to look forward to if they create the best life?
Like an individual?
Yeah. If a guy goes out there, he's motivated, he's driven, he puts the time, puts the effort, finds the right girl, builds the right life, is a good father, gets financially stable, has a home, anywhere in the world.
Well, it's all about creating that after you. So, like, making sure your offspring is doing the same thing. You know, both of my sons are successful entrepreneurs at the age of 20 and 21, hard workers working with their hands. You know, I'd put my kids against most guys that are between the age of 20 and 30, and they'd outwork them any day of the week because that's what I taught them. You know, these kids don't even want to get dirty. Most girls today got a pink toolbox from their dad with a screwdriver, and a girl can put a doorknob on, and most guys between the age of 18 and 30 don't even know how to change a doorknob. It's terrible. So I think it's important, you know, most dads are weak. That's the problem. And women, the moms are strong. So a weak man can't create a strong man. And a strong woman can't create a strong man. So I think anyone who's a father, like, you need to step up because, you know, your kid's a wuss and your kid's soft because of you, because you're not showing up as a man. You know, look back at your grandfather. Look back at your great-grandfather. If they were still alive today, they would beat the shit out of every man standing here, every boy standing here, because these kids are so weak. They're babies. And it all started, I would say, probably 15 years ago, you know, when everyone got a participation trophy. You know, everyone gets to show up. Everyone played. I remember I was coaching my kids in football, and we were playing, like, some important game. I don't remember what it was. And at the end of the game, like, the commissioner comes by, and he drops off a box of, like, medals. You know, we didn't win. He's like, hey, you know, everyone gets a medal. I said, you can keep them. He's like, what do you mean? You got to hand them out? I go, I'm not handing them out. I'm not teaching these kids any lessons by giving them a reward for not winning. There's only one number one. Placement number 4 doesn't take number 1. And if you give them a medal, kids are just going to play for the medal. But what does the medal represent? Participation? You know, you need to teach kids how to win, people how to win, you know. And it's unfortunate that this world has become so soft that people don't even know what a W is anymore.
Yeah, I talk about that all the time. It's not just the participation, because if you take away inherent motivation, everything falls apart because there's no drive, there's no goal, there's no direction. And that happens to a lot of guys. Why do you think I would agree, about 15, 20 years ago, why do you think women got so strong? Because a lot of guys are complaining that women want too much, or they're after the money, or they're, you know, have high expectations from the man, and the men are like, well, we're just people and don't, you know, have so much expectation of us. Why do you think this dynamic happened? We grew up in it, we saw it.
Well, I just think men got softer, women had to get harder. You know, like, most girls look at their dad as a figure, like, you know, that's the man I need. And most men can't show up that way. So I think women go out there to do things because maybe they looked at their mom, they looked at their grandma, and their grandma didn't have to work as hard. You know, more women work today than men. And more women are successful today than, you know, a lot of men, you know, because of the simple fact that they're not going to wait on a man. When years ago it was like, hey, your role, stay home with the kids, you know, whatever. But most men aren't willing to strive for that excellence anymore, for that highest achievement. And I just feel like women realize, like, I can't just sit around anymore and wait. I need to go out there and make it happen because I'm not going to let a man dictate my future. Yeah. And we've came into this realization of life.
What do you tell guys who are video game addicts on social media, you know, whether it's porn, whether it's addiction to drugs, alcohol, and they're kind of like just floating through life with no meaning, no power, no support, no real reason? Maybe they live at their parents' house, maybe they live with a girl. What's the advice to people like that?
Well, we're shaped from like 7 years old to 13 years old. And whatever happens in that time frame is kind of like what we search for in life. So if you've missed something, if you were misguided, if people didn't pay attention to you, like, you've shaped your life. So you've got childhood trauma that takes you into adulthood. And a lot of these guys who play video games and that's all they do and whatever it is, like, you know, that's their escape. You know, guys who do drugs and alcohol, that's their escape. Guys who are addicted to porn, you know, there's a lot of shame somewhere. You know, you got to figure that out. And the problem is most of them don't know how to fix it. And a lot of them don't realize it's a problem until it's too late, you know. And, you know, I've never been in the porn world. I've never been in the video game world. I haven't been an addict to substance except for, you know, when I was bodybuilding, I was addicted to steroids, you know, which led to my heart attack years later. And, slowed down a lot of things in my life. And, I was addicted to getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I understand addiction. I was addicted to money. We all are addicted to something, whether it's good or bad. But how do you realize that your addiction is your downfall? And how do you make it your comeback story? Like, how do you change it? How do you take it? No matter what we do in life, we're going to be addicted to something. And whatever that result is, how do we make it a good behavior? How do we make it a good ending versus a bad ending?
What are some good things to be addicted to?
Being able to perform and show people that, no matter what goes on in life, resistance creates power, right? Fighting through things and becoming better, not giving up. So being addicted to becoming better and showing people that no matter what goes on in your life, you can grow through a situation. You don't have to go through it, you got to grow through it, right? So being addicted to changing and evolving. Because when we're kids, when we're young, we dream. We want things, we want to do things, we have all these goals. Then all of a sudden we turn 16, 17, 18 years old, and we're no longer allowed to dream because we got to go get a job. And we got to face reality. And our dreams start getting shattered. If we look back to our childhood when we were 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old, we dream big. People don't dream big anymore. So I tell people, listen, what are your goals in life? Where do you want to go? Oh, well, I just want to, make a little bit of money. Or I just want to be happy. I'm like, well, it's got to be deeper than that. What does that mean? I tell people I want to, own the galaxy. They're like, that's unrealistic. I'm like, but to me it's realistic because if I own the galaxy or if I don't, at least I'm shooting for something that might be hard in your eyes, but something significantly smaller becomes easy in mine. We when we're young, we want to be astronauts. We want to be all this stuff. But then someone tells us we can't do it or we're not going to do it, and all of a sudden we stop dreaming. So I like to bring people back to their childhood mentality, dreaming again. If you've only got one shot in life here, paradise isn't heaven, but why not live in paradise while you're here? Why not live your best? I faced death twice. 19 years old, 110 miles an hour crash on a motorcycle.
Oh my gosh.
40 years old or 39 years old, heart attack. And throughout all of that, made a lot of money, lost a lot of money. So I realized I don't know the day I'm gone. I didn't know the day I was being born. But I do know that I'm the only one who holds a controller for the dash in between. And I think too many people live in a presence. If you talk to young kids and they start telling you about their dreams and aspirations, I'm going to be this. I can't wait to be this. I'm going to do this. You talk to adults, they say someday, one day, I wish. Some days not a day of the week, one day is not a day of the week. Those days don't ever show up. And if you wish for something, you never do them. If you try things, they never happen, right? Everyone that you've ever known in your life who tried to lose weight, they stayed fat because they tried to lose weight. Anyone who's tried to stop drinking is still drinking. You can't try something. You do it or you don't. Mm-hmm. If you try something, you give yourself the excuse, well, I tried it, but it didn't work, so I can go back. It's an ongoing excuse that we are allowed to use. So I think we just have to evaluate our lives. And, when you look at some of the most successful people in the world, they don't have limiting beliefs on the things that they've accomplished. They do have limiting beliefs on the things they can accomplish because whatever they've done, they could have done far more. We could all do far more. But at the time of achievement, we thought that's all was possible. So if we all went back to the younger age in our life, when we were trying to crawl and we were trying to walk, how many times did your parents put a gate up and you still got through? Put something to block the staircase and you still went up, and no matter what you did, now you put security locks on doorknobs and they put the locks on the kitchen cabinets. These kids will still get in. They'll figure it out. Mm-hmm. Why can't you be that determined to figure it out when you're an adult?
What do you think happens along the way?
Well, we get conditioned, and people dictate what we can do. And then, when we're young and we want to do all these things, nobody stops us because they know we're not going to do them. But when we get old, we start telling people what we want to do. And we start soliciting opinions. We start telling our friends who, our friends are our friends because geography put us there. Like literally, like your parents fell into a neighborhood, your neighbor became your neighbor, you were on the same bus with these kids just because geography made it happen. But if you go way back and you were able to choose your friends, you would not choose the people that live next door to you. You wouldn't choose the people that you sat next to on the bus. But you were forced to, so these became your friends. So your association dictates what happens in your life. But as we get older, we allow our association to dictate our dreams because, we see people who are achieving big things, and then we ask if it's okay for us to have that dream. Hey, I want to do this. Do you think I could do this? And if you ask someone who has no dreams or aspirations, they're going to say, you're crazy. It's not going to happen. I always say, like, dumb can't tell dumb how to be smart. It doesn't work. But if you look at some of the most successful people in the world and how they became it, they sought after people who were super successful and they followed their rhythm. But we fall into a mediocre world where everyone wants to just do the same thing. And as long as your car's a little bit nicer, as long as your grass is a little bit greener, as long as I can have a little bit more fun, I'll do better than you. That's the world we live in.
How do you surround yourself with higher achieving people as an adult? Where do you find these people?
I mean, I just left probably the world's biggest gambler. Though he got locked up, the dude was a baller. He did, $60 million last year.
Wow.
Yeah, and I just left a WWE wrestler's office. And I just left a guy, who owns, multiple rehab centers. But all these people were addicted to something. But they all changed their lives. But they just weren't addicted to being average. So I think when you look at successful entrepreneurs, we're all screwed up. We don't have anything right. We just have the willingness to go out there and do what other people won't do and figure it out. And we're the ones who get kicked in the face the most. But, hey, it hurts a little bit. We wipe it off and we keep going. So I found that, by having dreams and spending time with people who are visionaries and want to go after big things, the conversations are easier. They don't limit you. And when you start believing that you can do things, when you start seeing yourself in this space, these people just start showing up in your life. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like your association is your association because of your belief level. You look at your 5 closest friends, you guys all have the same bank account. You guys are all driving the same cars, living the same way, watching the same series on Netflix and talking about it on Friday night. It's wild. Mm-hmm. Because that's what you believe life should be like.
It's very true. How do you think people can overcome that and go to the next level? Because obviously a lot of people get stuck in that.
Yeah, so stuck is because they're comfortable. Why would I want to work to become better?
What makes people want to work?
Rock bottom.
Yeah.
Or just being sick and tired of being sick and tired. You've got to come to a place where you realize, everything around me is limiting my growth. If I don't change my environment, nothing's going to grow. So we become a product of ultimately what we believe. And our subconscious doesn't know the difference between reality and what we're thinking. But the problem is we train ourselves so much to believe that we don't deserve things. We're not good enough, and we create these things. So, for years I've been writing in a journal, and I write things like, God, what didn't I believe about myself? Now what do I believe? What was holding me back? What's no longer holding me back? And everything resorts to, hey, God, what are all the good things about me? And all the things I thought that were bad about me, he believes the complete opposite. So we set these limits in our own life because of people, because of failure, You know, my book coming out in November is talking about falling your way uphill, all the stuff I've been through life. Like, I faced death. I went bankrupt at 24. I got married. I got divorced. I had a heart attack. I built 3 companies. I lost 2, like, had a heart attack. I've been through it. I mean, listen, the shit stacks up. But at the end of the day, I'm not done yet. Until the good man takes me home, I'm not finished. But most people would have gave up at 24 when they went bankrupt. And they would have sat there and felt bad for themselves. Most people have more week at the end of the money. And they have their own pity party, and guess what? Nobody shows up. Nobody cares about you. Nobody cares what's going on in your life because they all have their own problems. You know? Your job is to say, hey, whatever's going on in my life right now, if I'm not happy with it, how do I change it? But we expect other people to change it. We expect other people to feel bad for us. Mm-hmm. Do we feel bad for anybody else? Then why the hell are they going to feel bad for us?
Yeah, and I think people get used to others feeling bad for them and pitying them, and it coming across in a negative way when it's from parents. Like, oh, you're never going to get anywhere. You're never going to be anybody. You're not. All the naysayers. Have you had naysayers in your life?
Oh, come on. All day. Still.
Yeah. Still.
My dad to this day still never said he was proud of me. Mm-hmm. You know, and the problem is we look at our family and whatever our family constructs in our mind, like, that's what we believe is possible. And then we don't want to, like, disobey our family by going against them and doing something else that wouldn't be like the norm to them because they're our family, and how are they going to look at us? It's like going to college, right? So we're conditioned as kids to go to high school, go to college, and get a job. So back when our parents were in college, you know, there was the 40-40 plan, right? Work for 40 years, or, you know, work for 40 hours, work for 40 years, and retire on 40% of your income. The average American today can't live on 100% of their income. How are they retiring on 40 of it? Number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, years and years ago, college, you know, if you were going to college for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, by the time you came out, your job was still in demand. Whatever you're going to go study today that's popular, 4 years from today, it'll be filled. No one's going to need you.
Or non-existent, yeah.
Right. The world's going so fast. I think 70% of college kids are women now. Wow. Yeah. So we're forced to go to school to get educated by average people. We go from 1st grade to 12th grade. We get taught by average people how to do average things, and we have to go for another 4 years. But now all of a sudden they're not a teacher anymore. They're a professor. So you're going to go learn business or entrepreneurship in college from a professor that doesn't profess. Mm-hmm. If your business teacher or entrepreneur teacher knew how to make $40,000 a month, they wouldn't be standing at that podium. But their textbook, it's just like therapists. It's just like, you know, people who are in my world, they go, hey, I'm a certified coach. I go, yeah, you're certified by a book, but I'm certified by experience. I've been through it. And I'll school the shit out of you because I have real knowledge of what happens. You don't. And we can only teach people textbook for so long. But the world's in a place where they want to keep everybody stuck, because if they keep everybody stuck, nobody can figure anything out. And it's just getting worse and worse.
What's the benefit of keeping people stuck?
Well, I mean, listen. Whether you like Trump or not, he's exposing everybody. Mm-hmm. He's the only president who goes to Venezuela, boom, takes this guy out. No other president has even tried. You know, what he did in Mexico. He's trying to get oil for us so that we don't have to pay $6, $7, $8 a gallon, and we own it. People don't see this shit. Oh, we're at war. Oh, we're this. Oh, we're that. You don't want to cry about bullshit. But nobody that's not in business doesn't understand what's going on. And most of the world's not in business, so they're not going to like them because they want to listen to what other people are saying. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm not a politician. I don't follow politics. But I've said for a long time that if we ever had the right president in this world, it would be a businessman, not a politician.
Absolutely.
So the problem is he must be doing something right because they tried taking him out 3 times. You know, John F. Kennedy, same thing. You know, every single person who's tried to make a dent in this world, they've tried to take him out. But the problem is the world will never see it because they'll never tell. You know, people watch CNN, constantly negative news. They don't watch the positive stuff. They don't know. You know, I don't watch news, but I just know. I'm a businessman. I understand the effect of what's happening in this world. Mm-hmm. Our economy is tough right now because of what's going on, but our economy has been tough with every single president we've had. Obama, we were paying more money for gas than we're paying now. Mm-hmm. But they're not going to remember that.
I remember that. Yeah.
They're not going to remember that, because again, black president, he wasn't even black, but whatever, This is the problem in our world is people base their decisions based on what other people say, And again, I don't talk politics with nobody. I don't talk, religion or whatever, Christianity with anybody. It's up to them. If people ask me, I'll give them my opinion. It's only my opinion. But I'm not going to sit here and fight with people because, again, I have nothing to prove to anybody. And no matter what we think about politics or religion or anything, it doesn't matter. Our job is just to move through life and be our best and do our best and show up our best. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, too many people rely on other people to make those decisions for them.
Yeah, and it's absolutely, I think politics got lost in so much of what this media push, especially 50, 75 years ago of what started happening with newspapers and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, the politicians work for us. We're the taxpayers, right? They're supposed to do whatever advances our interests. That's the whole point. When we think politics, they're just literally service people. Yeah. In the same way that you and I as entrepreneurs, we give back to society. That's hopefully their role. And absolutely somebody who's running, the biggest, most powerful country in the world, that at least we like to think that. I'm sure in other countries they think differently, but from our perspective, it has to be someone who's so business savvy. I think that should be a requirement, but not necessarily what everybody votes for. And, the rest of it, okay, everybody's going to have an opinion. You get to know anybody long enough, you're going to find things you don't like about them. And when you're on that much of a spotlight, there's always going to be any president, if you look back, there's going to be things people didn't like about them from either side of the aisle. And it's like that with regular people. I feel like the higher up you get, the more haters you have. That's absolutely true.
Listen, we fail on our way up. And as we start to rise, people will always talk about our failures. They'll never talk about our accomplishments. Mm-hmm. Because nobody wants to admit their own failures. No one wants to realize, hey, I have my own problems. It's easier for me to say, oh, this, versus take accountability for myself, right? So I just think at the end of the day, we sit in a world where 80% of people don't even make their own decisions. Mm-hmm. They just follow what they think is right, not what they know is right, and what they think is best.
And I think also part of that is forgiving yourself for mistakes you've made along the way and knowing that, yeah, it was your fault, but that's okay. You did the best you could in that moment. Course. And then, being able to pick yourself up, move along and do better. And I think the human willpower is irreplaceable by anything. There's nothing that's stronger than somebody having motivation and waking up and being like, you know what? That's it. I'm stopping this cold turkey and I'm going to turn the other way and just 180 degrees. Keep moving, go do better, go be my best self every moment of every day, because you're right. Mm-hmm. We like to think if we're lucky we can live 100 years, but most people don't, definitely not in this country. If we use that 100 years every single moment of every day. I've never met anybody. My office is in North Scottsdale. I see a lot of these snowbirds. They're in their 70s, 80s, 90s, come in there and talk about divorce and so I'm going to live my best last few years. And, I've never talked to anybody 75 plus who's like, yeah, all that time I spent stressing out or, tripping over myself or being down on myself, that was time well spent. Or being angry, not spending time with my kids, not being there for the people I love, not helping shape them and giving my wisdom. I've never heard anybody say that was time well spent. They always regret that. They always think, you know what, I should have been more there. I should have been, more present. I should have been, more available to people. I should have given back more. I should have tried more. I should have believed in myself more, not listened to naysayers. And I think that makes a huge difference, especially for young people today, because I feel like the internet and social media and all this replaces what people used to get in real life. Mm-hmm. And instead of algorithms, right, we used to have maybe people who cared, supported, but in a lot of ways, generations past, there was a lot of neglectful parents. They didn't really want, I don't know any generation that's like, yes, let's go, I want to parent a toddler and, potty train and do all that. It's hard, but it's probably the greatest privilege that human beings get to have, is to be a parent and to be a part of that group of people that says, you know what, I'm going to take what I know and what I've learned and give that to my kids on a silver platter and teach them right off the bat, hey, if you do all these things right, and I'm going going to support you and I'm going to watch out for you. I'm going to make sure you come out on the other side alive and strong and healthy and all that. And in good relationships, I'm going to teach you by role modeling, by conversation. I'm going to show you the best ways. That makes for a whole different kind of generation. And even if you didn't have good parents, you can still be like that, right? It's just like flipping a
I think
switch.
it's important for us as parents, you know, to not do what our parents did. And like, so I got divorced. My daughter was 8 years old, and I got divorced for my daughter. My daughter came up to me and she's like, you know, why don't you sleep in bed with mom? And I'm like, you sleep there. The next day I filed for divorce. Because I said, these patterns are going to keep happening, because if I show my daughter that this is the way a relationship is supposed to be, she's going to have the same man in her life. She's going to marry a man like me who's doing the things I'm doing. Whether I'm working hard or not, like, she's not going to know what intimacy is, what love is, or any of that stuff. And that's one of the reasons why I filed. And I think today my daughter understands that, like, you know, her mom and me, like, we didn't work out, but we show her now different qualities of what a relationship should look like, you know, versus what we were doing.
So important. I tell people that all the time. Sometimes people will come into my office, you know, I'm, you know, couples counselor. I see predominantly couples. People come in like, oh, well, you know, Michelle, you talk about divorce, you make it sound so easy. And I'm like, I probably see more divorcing people than most divorce lawyers, right? And they're always worried, like, oh, what about the kids? But they're so young. And I tell them, I'm like, look, if you get out of this relationship, if you know when to cut your losses and move on, and you go get into a better relationship, you're now setting a whole new example. Yeah, it's tough for the kids. They got to go house to house. They got to go through a little bit of difficulty. Maybe the finances are not as good because it's two separate households. But at the end of the day, if they can get to a place where they see that intimacy, they see the love, they see communication, they see happiness, they see peace, even in one household, even if one person in that marriage is like, I don't know, my partner is so difficult, and I don't know should we fix it? Should I just stay for the kids? But
That's the problem.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay till the kids are 18. I'm going to do this. You do more damage staying than you would ever do leaving.
It's either that, or you got to put your heart and soul into it as true adults and really fix it and try and show and, you know, just be that best role model. But it definitely takes, again, it goes back to willpower. It goes to flipping a switch and not feeling sad, you know, sorry for yourself, and feeling sad and bad and angry and all that. But those are all, you know, excellent ways of thinking. What do you think, as far as your future, what do you think you have? You have a book coming out. What else do you want to do for yourself?
So I'm just really trying to live a legacy, you know, like when I die, I want everything I'm doing to go beyond me and push beyond me and be remembered from me. That's why, you know, my Instagram, my YouTube, all the stuff that I put out there, you know, is going to outlive me. But not only that, the impact that's being created from people seeing it and people hiring me, and, you know, me being able to save a marriage, me being able to, you know, bring a dad back home because he's working too much in his business and he's not focusing on what he needs to, you know, changing all these generational curses that these people have in their life. You know, I know that if I could just fix one person or one business at a time, I'm doing a good job, and it's going to outlive me, where before it was just about how much money can I make, what can I build, what can I do for myself. When you become a servant for other people, and number one, your kids see that, you know, your kids realize that, you know, money's not always the most important vehicle. We're brought into a culture where we're supposed to stress about money, and we stress about money, and we look at price tags, and we worry about everything, and that's because we work for the value that we believe we're worth, and we live at the value we believe we're worth, you know. But if you actually pour into people, you do stuff, and you're serving, and you're doing everything on purpose, like, you're always going to have money. Money's always going to be there. And status and material and, you know, the way that you project yourself to other people is not going to matter because you're showing up authentically.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so fulfilling. It's never-endingly fulfilling, and definitely leaving the legacy is so important. What was the impetus for writing the book? What made you want to do it?
I wrote the book in 2016.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's I just got to add a couple more chapters now. I'm doing it right now with my editor. But I wrote the book in 2016, which was a pivotal point, one of the pivotal points of my life. And I wanted to wait to launch the book until I had a big enough audience, which I have now, because everyone wants to write a book, but nobody cares about our story. You know, but once you have an audience, once you have people who truly know you for who you are, you'll be able to make a bigger impact than just have something sitting in a box in the side of your office that you're trying to get rid of because it was an idea. How do you turn an idea into something powerful? That's where I'm at now. I just did an event this past weekend in San Diego, and a lot of people were following me on social media. They go, man, you're 10x what you do on social media, like in person. You know what I mean? Like, you are next level. And that's me authentically showing up.
Yeah. People will be so lucky to come see you in person. Where are you going to be this next few weeks?
I'll be in Dallas next week, and then that's it. I'm not speaking again. I'm taking the entire summer off. I'm not speaking again until September. September, I'll be in Minnesota.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So Big Dan, he's a coach. He's an entrepreneur, one of the best businessmen I've ever met, for sure.
Appreciate it.
Yes. I hope you follow his page, read all of his, everything that you've got online, watch your videos, read your new book coming out. I'm excited to read it. You'll have to shoot me a message once it's published.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was so nice talking to you. I'll see you again soon.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.